Hello, this is Slate with Combo of Rocks, bringing you another video deck tech of a deck that we built by request and have one for sale in the TikTok shop. If you're not familiar with us, we make and sell custom budget EDH decks. These decks are light on the budget, so they may not be optimal or competitive, but they're definitely fun and centered around a central theme that you can build on. Today we have Sorin of House Markov, which is 1 in a black for 1/4 legendary human noble with lifelink and extort. So as you cast a spell, you can pay white or black. If you do, each opponent loses a life and you gain that much life. So the more opponents you have, the more life you're going to gain. At the beginning of your post-combat main phase, if you gain 3 or more life, exile it, then return him to the battlefield transformed. It becomes Sorin, Ravenous Neonate, which is 3 loyalty Sorin with Extort. +2, create a food token. -1, deals damage equal to the amount of life you gain this turn to any target. Or -6, gain control of target creature. It becomes a vampire in addition to its other types. Put a lifelink counter on it if you control a white permanent other than Sorin. So this deck is all about vampires and gaining life. Let's get into it. We have another commander option in Amalia Benavides Aguirre. 1 white-black for 2/2 legendary vampire scout with ward, pay 3 life. Whenever you gain life, she explores and then destroy all of the other creatures if its power is exactly 20. So just a good way to rack up life gain and then blow everything up. Sorin, Lord of Innistrad, 2 white-black for 3 loyalty legendary planeswalker Sorin. +1, create a 1/1 vampire creature token with lifelink. -2, you get an emblem with creatures you control get +1/+0. -6, destroy 3 target creatures and/or planeswalkers. Return each card from the graveyard to the battlefield under your control. Blood Baron of Viscopa, 3 white-black for 4/4 vampire, lifelink, protection from white and black. As long as you have 30 or more life and an opponent has 10 or less life, it gets +6/+6 and has flying. Life Insurance, 3 whites black, an enchantment with Extort. Whenever a non-token creature dies, you lose a life and create a treasure token. Lunar Convocation, white black on your end step. If you gain life, each opponent loses 1 life. And on your end step, if you gained and lost life, create a 1/1 black bat creature token with flying. 1 black, pay 2 life, draw a card. Anguished Unmaking, 1 white black instant, exile a non-land permanent, you lose 3 life. Vindicate, 1 white black, destroy target permanent. Legion Stations, 1 white black, exile target non-land permanent and all tokens that player controls with the same name as that permanent. Blind Obedience, 1 in a white with Extort, artifacts and creatures your opponents enter the battlefield tapped. Celestial Armor, 2 in a white, flash equipment. When it enters, attach it to a creature you control, against hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. Equipped creature gets +2/+0 and has flying with equipped 3 in a white. Veto, Thorn of the Dusk Rose, 2 in a black for 1/3 legendary vampire cleric. Whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life, and you can pay 3 black to give creatures you control lifelink until end of turn. Sanctum Seeker, 2 black for 3/4 vampire knight. Whenever a vampire you control attacks, each opponent loses a life and you gain a life. Malakir Blood Witch, 3 black for a 4/4 vampire shaman with flying and protection from white. When it enters, each opponent loses life equal to the number of vampires you control. You gain life equal to the life lost this way. Twilight Prophet, 2 black for 2/4 vampire cleric with flying and ascend. So if you have 10 or more permanents, you get the City's Blessing. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you have the City's Blessing, you reveal the top card of your library and put it into your hand. Each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is that card's mana value. Olivia's Wrath, 4 in black. Each non-vampire creature gets -X until end of turn, where X is the number of vampires you control. Into some Mana Rocks, Coalition Relic, Orzhov Locket, Talisman of Hierarchy, Orzhov Signet, Firemind Vessel, Navigation Orb, our colorless Cultivate that can also grab gates. Pristine Talisman, this one taps for colorless and gains you a life. Marble Diamond, Charcoal Diamond, Prismatic Lens, taps for colorless or a mana of any color. Arcane Signet, Soul Ring, Wayfarer's Bauble, our colorless Rampant Growth. Indulging Patrician, 1 white's black for a 1/4 vampire noble with flying and lifelink. On your end step, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, each opponent loses 3 life. Cliffhaven Vampire, 2 whites black for a 2/4 vampire warrior ally with flying. Whenever you gain life, each opponent loses a life. Drana's Emissary, 1 white black for a 2/2 vampire cleric ally with flying. On your upkeep, each opponent loses a life and you gain a life. Tide Drinker, black for a 2/1 vampire cleric with lifelink and Extort. Sanguine Savior, 1 white black for 2/1 vampire cleric with flying and lifelink. When it's turn face up, another target creature you control gains a lifelink until end of turn. You can disguise it for white black hybrid. Legion Lieutenant, white's black for a 2/2 vampire knight. Other vampires you control gets +1/+1. Call to the Feast, 2 black white, create 3 1/1 white vampire creature tokens with lifelink. Squire's Devotion, 2 and a white, aura, enchant creature gets +1/+1 and lifelink. And when it enters, create a 1/1 vampire creature token with lifelink. Requisition Raid, 1 white with Spree, 1 mana destroy an artifact, another mana destroy an enchantment, 1 more mana gives a 1/1 counter on each creature target player controls. Underhanded Designs, 1 and a black, whenever an artifact enters you can pay 1, if you do each opponent loses a life and you gain a life. 1 and a black, sack it, destroy target creature, but only if you have 2 or more other artifacts. Basilicus Creature, 1 and a black for a 1/2 bat with flying and Extort. Starscape Cleric, 1 and a black for a 2/1 bat cleric with Offspring, 2 and a black. Flying, it can't block. Whenever you gain life, each opponent loses a life. Nazar the Velvet Fang, 3 and a black for 3/3 legendary vampire warlock with menace. When you gain life, put a feed counter. When it attacks, you can remove 3 feeding counters to draw 3 cards and lose 3 life. Blood Artist, 1 and a black for a 0/1 vampire. When it or another creature dies, target opponent loses a life and you gain a life. Falconwrath Noble, same thing, but on a 3 and a black 2/2 flying body. Exsanguinate, X black black. Each opponent loses X life. You gain life equal to the life lost this way. Restless Bloodseeker, 1 and a black for 1/3 on your end step. If you gained a life, create a blood token. You can sack 2 blood tokens to transform him. He becomes a 3/3 on your end step. If you gain life, create a blood token. 4 and a black, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Marauding Blight Priest, 2 and a black for a 3/2 vampire cleric. Whenever you gain life, each opponent loses a life. Epicure of Blood, just a bigger version, a 5 mana 4/4. Scion of the Swarm, 3 black black for a 3/3 vampire cleric with flying. Whenever you gain life, put a 1/1 counter on it. Vampire Scrivener, 4 and a black for a 2/2 vampire warlock with flying. Whenever you gain life, put a 1/1 counter on it, and whenever you lose life during your turn, put a 1/1 counter. Those will only trigger once each turn. Radiant Epicure, 4 and a black for a 5/5 vampire wizard. When it enters, each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the number of colors of mana spent to cast this spell. Vampire Sovereign, 3 black black for a 3/4 vampire flying. When it enters, target opponent loses 3 life and you gain 3 life. Grave Shifter, 3 and a black for a 2/2 shapeshifter changeling, so this is a vampire. When it enters, return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Vampire Neonate, 1 black for a 0/3 vampire, 2 and a tap. Each opponent loses a life and you gain a life. Sanguine Siphoner, 1 and a black for a 1/3. When it attacks, each opponent loses a life and you gain a life. Nocturnal Feeder, 2 and a black for a 2/1 vampire rogue with flying. When it dies, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Greed, 3 and a black, pay a black to pay and 2 life to draw a card. Dark Tutelage, 2 and a black enchantment. On your upkeep, reveal the top card of your library, put it in your hand. You lose life equal to its mana value. Midnight Snack, 2 and a black. On your end step, if you attack this turn, create a food token. 2 black, sack the enchantment. Target opponent loses X life, where X is the amount of life you gain this turn. Breathe Your Last, 1 black black, instant destroy creature or planeswalker. You gain 1 life for each of its colors. Essence Extraction, 1 black black instant. It deals 3 damage to a target creature and you gain 3 life. Bake into a Pie, 2 black black, instant destroy creature. Create a food token. Ill-Gotten Inheritance, 3 and a black. On your upkeep, it deals 1 damage to each opponent and you gain a life. 5 black, sack, deals 4 damage to your target opponent and you gain 4 life. Soft Consumption, 4 black black. Each opponent loses 4 life and you gain 4 life. It can also be a tapped black land. And Glasswing Grace, 3 black white hybrid. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 as flying and lifelink. It can also be a tapped black white land. Into some other lands, we have Isolated Chapel, Concealed Courtyard, Caves of Koilos. Restless Fortress becomes a 1/4 nightmare. When it attacks, defending player loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Temple of Silence, another man land here. Shambling Vent becomes a 2/3 with lifelink. Shine Shadow Snarl. Vault of the Archangel, you can pay some mana to give your creatures Death Touch and lifelink until end of turn. Myriad Landscape grabs 2 basic lands. Tainted Field, Orzhov Basilica, Silver Quill Campus, Orzhov Guildgate, Scoured Barrens gains a life. Neglected Manor, Ballroom can investigate, Command Tower, and then we have some basic plains and swamps here. That's the deck. I hope you enjoyed it, but we'll see you next time.